Welcome to the Educated Investor Podcast, where our mission is to bring you the skills and stories of successful entrepreneurs and real estate investors so that you can achieve financial freedom. My name is Philip Hernandez. I am an educator and a musician with over a decade of experience and a passion for real estate investing. Our guest this week is Joe Ramos. Joe Ramos is a friend of mine and a successful real estate investor. Joe's done everything from commercial deals, long-distance fix and flips, to starting a real estate investment fund. My favorite part of this interview was hearing the step-by-step way that Joe achieved financial freedom, not in a day or a month or in one deal or in a year, but over 10 years through consistent and persistent action. And yeah, I mean, he's still a young guy, started in his early 20s, and, he likes to call himself a financially free beach bum, and he's a lot more than that. And also, he's just perfect, just like that. So, I hope you enjoyed the interview as much as I enjoyed talking to him. And yeah, without further ado, Joe Ramos. All right. Joe Ramos, thank you so much for coming on the Educated Investor Podcast. You are a friend of mine. We're in a mastermind together, and I know you're a very active investor, both in state, out of state. You have your own podcast, an educational platform. I think is awesome, all the things you're doing. But why don't you give us a little overview about what your portfolio looks like right now, and we'll go on the journey of how you got there.
Cool. Yeah, thanks, man. I really appreciate you having me on. It's always fun being on someone else's podcast. So as far as I guess my my real estate right now, I'm in California, Ohio, Florida, and Georgia currently. And I basically have very diverse portfolio. Here in California, I have a couple long-term rentals as well as a couple short-term rentals up in Big Bear in the mountains, as well as my personal property. And then in Georgia, I have 3 long-term rentals, single-family units that are in a little town like outside Atlanta, which is really cool, really fun little place. And then a couple flips that are going on there right now, as well as Ohio. I have a couple multifamily in Ohio, an 8-unit, as well as a duplex, 2 different spots in Ohio. And then in Florida, have a couple short-term rentals in Florida under our real estate fund, as well as a couple flips that are currently going on, both about to be listed. And then we are under contract on 4 new single-family properties that we're going to be turning into a pad split, which I'm sure we'll get into later. So just, nice little variety of things that we have going on. And yeah, it's fun.
Cool. Yeah, I think the definition of a diversified portfolio is what you have right now. One thing that I know about you that I'd love to hear you speak a little bit about is I know you had a background in sales, in car sales before you transitioned into real estate. Maybe you could talk about how you went from sales with cars to transitioning into real estate, some of the skills that you had developed in that profession, how you transitioned them into this world, and what was that transition like for you?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually, because my background did help me out quite a bit. I didn't realize it until getting like deeper and deeper into this business, how much it actually has helped me out a lot. So the way I started, just to kind of give people a background, is I was in auto sales. Like I basically started when I was 20 years old. I went to college. I didn't finish college. I went there for engineering, and it just wasn't really for me. And honestly, it was like the best thing that ever happened to me not finishing college, is because I came back to, where I was, where I grew up, and I ended up getting into the car business. I was working at Best Buy. I got poached by somebody who said, "Hey, you want to try out and sell cars?" I was like, "Yeah, sure. I don't want to be here forever." And I was doing junior college, and honestly, school is just not for me. It's hard for me to kind of like sit still and get engaged and all that stuff. And so so yeah, I really enjoyed sales. I sold TVs and MP3 players before the iPod became really popular. And dating myself, but you know, but yeah, so I started selling cars and I did really well at selling cars. And then I ended up, moving out and renting out a house with some friends. And so I was renting a house with some friends and one of the guys I worked with, and I kept on taking the money to the bank, to this guy's bank, and depositing the rent into his bank. And I'm like, dude, this is ridiculous. And I started making a little bit more money. My tax guy was a family friend, and he said, you might be like, should think about maybe investing into a property or something like that to help you out with the, taxes in the future. So kind of thought about it, and then I looked into it, and I was like, yeah, okay. So I ended up buying my first house when I was 21. I actually built up my credit on purpose. I bought a vehicle that I really didn't even need, but I built up my credit so that way a year later I'd be able to buy a house. So I bought a house, and then those guys moved into the house with me and rented out the rooms. I was paying, $1,300 and some change a month, and they paid $500 a piece. So almost had a free place to stay. And after that, I was like, dang, this is crazy. Like, so I worked a lot. I worked 12, 14-hour days. And I didn't have weekends off for the first 10 years working in the car business. And so that basically helped me kind of save my money. And I just kept on looking into buying more properties. So I think what really helped me out in regards to the sales is just being able to talk to people over the phone, especially when you're doing like out of state investing. A lot of people ask me like, how do you find people? How do you find teams and stuff like that? And I think it's just a matter of, doing research, but also talking to people over the phone and getting a gist for how they are. So that's one thing that really helped me out a lot was doing, like, I did a lot of phone sales after I got into, the sales in person, but just like the communication, the comfortability of being able to talk to anyone really helped out a lot, right? So talking to people over the phone, talking to people in person. I mean, some of the people that I had sold cars to, I mean, I'd sold 10, 12, cars to them over the time that I was just at that one dealership. And a couple of them were actually at my wedding because we
Wow.
just became really good friends. And it was a matter of, I think, being honest and having and loyal, to people really, and treating people like you'd want to be treated, right? I mean, it's kind of like, how like the Bible talks about it, but basically just treating people like you're working together instead of, they're working for you, I guess. Things like
Yeah,
that,
a
I don't know.
couple things really come to my mind about your story, and I see them so often coming up in the stories of other folks that I see that are successful entrepreneurs and especially real estate investors, is that they really live very simply. They will have some sort of income generating aspect that they have either as their W-2 or in some business that they have, and they don't get in the trap of overspending, of like letting their expenses rise along with their income. They live extremely simply, um, and then also just this kind of like slow steady, yeah, this slow and steady, especially at the beginning, like you're house hacking at the beginning, you're building up your credit, it sounds like you're building up a good amount of reserves. um so after that house hack where you're sharing rooms with friends of yours, um what was the next investment that you did?
Yeah, no, I'm really glad you brought this up, actually, because this is something I tend to forget to tell people sometimes, is yeah, living below your means, right? So I'll definitely get to the next one after this, but I think that the reason I was able to get to the next one was because of exactly what you're talking about. You know, like Robert Kiyosaki in the Rich Dad Poor Dad. I know like everybody brings this book up, but paying yourself first. And one thing that I did with my job, because I made a decent amount of money and it was commission, so it was based on my performance, and I did very well. And I kept on seeing that, oh my gosh, like the better I do, the more I'm going to make. So I kept on working harder, and that in turn, you know, I didn't have a lot of time off. So therefore I saved my money. And what I did was, and it's probably because my parents taught me very well. My parents definitely didn't have a lot of money, but they were very diligent with the money that they had and taught me the value of the dollar. I mean, I mowed lawns, I recycled cans, when I was a kid, and my dad helped me with that and taught me that, and my mom kind of just helped me out, like learning the sales aspect, actually, because my mom was one of the top salespeople in the United States for a Clear Channel Broadcasting company.
Oh,
And so she would always have me listen to commercials, and would kind of like, she'd help me brainstorm. And so I think maybe it was just always innate in there. But yeah, because I actually paid myself first and I saved my money, and I had an account that was like, okay, I'm going to put this money aside before I even, there was like two different direct deposits, right? So at your work, you normally just have like one direct deposit goes into your bank account. Well, so they allowed me to set it up to where I had two different ones, and I would put a certain amount of money in first, then the other one would go into my regular bank account where I would be spending my money. So I kind of like pretended that I didn't have that money, and that helped me save for the next property. So the next property I bought was a couple years later, and I bought it. I was actually going to move out of my current house, and this is again like the learning experiences that you go through. I was planning on buying another house that was bigger with a pool, and I was like, oh cool, man, like I'm going to upgrade and I'm going to move into this one, and I'm going to rent out the current one. Well, what happened was I had a loan officer. That was the last time I used him, because he basically told me something that wasn't true. I refinanced the current property I was in, an FHA refinance, and well, you have to be in the property for a year. So therefore, I wasn't, like, everything fell through on the second house due to the fact that that was wrong. And so underwriting kicked it back, and I ended up having to transition, and I ended up having to buy a cheaper house and put more money down. But I'm really glad I did, because honestly, that second house was probably the best purchase I've ever made, because it was in 2012, and it was such a great deal, and I still have that house to this day. And I've never lived in it, and I've rented it out ever since, and it's just, I mean, it's kicking butt. And then I was able to, years later, refinance it, pull out money, and buy more houses with it. But that was the second property I bought, and then a couple years later I ended up buying a house that I did move into, that was really nice. I really liked a lot. So that was my whole goal, though, is I think, like, what I'll tell people is to, have a dream with a deadline. And something my mom always said is, instead of just thinking about, oh, I want something, I want this, I want that, but actually putting a timeline on it. Like, my goal was to buy something at the beach by the time I was 30, and I did it at 29, because I had a plan. I wanted to buy 3 properties in Riverside where I grew up, and then, that helped me move out to the beach and buy a place at the beach. So
yeah. So these first purchases, it seemed like they were all like started as primary residence, and you'd rent them out, and you'd hold on to them after you moved on to a new property. Uh, what was the first property that you bought purely as an investment where you weren't going to live in it? And how long also before, because it sounds like this whole time
well,
you're both doing your W2
yeah.
and the investing. When did you transition out of your W2?
Well, it wasn't until a while later, honestly. I mean, but that second house I never lived in. That one was actually the first
Mm,
investment property I did. I had to put 20% down because of the whole issue with the lender. So that one was actually, I've never lived in it. That one was the first investment property. I put 20% down. But at the time I bought it for 185,000. I mean, oh my
mm-hmm.
gosh, like, it's great in California. And so you can imagine what that place is worth now. I mean, it's worth over 600. And so that's why, I mean, my whole thing was to just buy and keep. And I bought them all on my own because I didn't really feel like I could trust anybody else. And that's one thing I learned later on in life. So I didn't really transition until like a full-time real estate investor up until, maybe like 3 years ago. And so I bought like 5 properties on my own with my own, money before, like, I really transitioned. That kind of helped me become, financially free. And then I got into the Georgia market, and so before I left my W2, well, mine's not even W2. Everybody says 9 to 5. Mine was like 12 to 12, or like 9 to 9, or
Yeah.
or later, or whatever, because the car business was crazy. But But yeah, I started buying, like, I bought that first place in Georgia, and then I met my business partner once. And this is what's crazy is, like, once I really like took off is when I got out of my W-2 and I met my main business partner, Jake, that I do the podcast with. And we bought those couple properties in Ohio. Then we started the fund. Then we bought a couple properties in Florida. And in the meantime, I was also buying stuff in Georgia. And my best friend's dad, he'd see, I've known my, like,
So
almost
but
almost my whole
before we
life.
jump into that,
Yeah.
I don't want to rush through this connecting that you have with your business partner, right? Because a lot of folks talk about the importance of partnering and how partnering with the right person can really uh, make your business grow and improve. And I actually know a lot of really successful people that partner, and a lot of people that never partner, but it takes them and they're very successful, but it takes them a very long time to reach that place of financial independence. What was it about your partner that made you feel comfortable, like, okay, I'm going to change this mindset that I have of working just by myself, and I'm going to work with him? And yeah, how has that partnership evolved and developed over time?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, because yeah, for the longest time I didn't want to partner with anybody. I almost bought a house with a friend, and that kind of fell through on his end, which I'm glad it did. And I was very, very against it. But you know what it was I met him through somebody else. So one of my sales guys, once I got into the car, when I was in the car business, I started in sales, but then I grew into a management position and finance and all that stuff. So, I mean, I did a lot of different positions. So those are some of the things that helped me in this business, as well as just, learning a lot more about business itself and how to run a dealership. But he moved out to Idaho. One of my sales guys moved out to Idaho. He got to working with uh, my now business partner, and said, "Hey, you guys are like on the same page. You should probably talk to this guy." And so that's how we kind of met. We talked on the phone.
What were they doing together?
So a construction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because my business partner Jake, my main business partner that I have the podcast with, Land Shark Financial Freedom Podcast, he he has a construction company out there. And so the guy John basically worked for him, worked with him, on projects. And he's like, "Hey, you should probably talk to this guy. You guys would really get along." And in that time, around that time, I was kind of like transitioning out of, like, my, let's say, my party phase. I kind of like got away from, sleeping around with people, and drinking and all that stuff. And I actually really went towards the Lord, and I really changed my life and started, actually following the word and reading the Bible. And so he and I kind of got along on that same page, because he's Christian as well. And so I think that, to me, like, the morals and the ethics and everything just kind of like clicked. And as people like to say, things happen for a reason. But it's really God putting people in certain places, and removing other people from your life, because I had gone through a really bad breakup and everything like that. And so, I mean, I'm human too. Like, there's all these things in your life that you can really choose to let them, like, bring you down or bring you up. And so this was one of those things. And that just, I mean, honestly, after all that, I mean, things just really started taking off. And he and I got along really well. We talked over the phone quite a bit before we even did our first deal. Um, and both he and I, like, we bought these properties in Ohio around the same time, and we both haven't even seen them yet, and we've had them for a while. And so, yeah, he and I just, and things just kind of like, they just flow so well, right? It's the same thing with a relationship, like a romantic or personal relationship, is that, when things just go, they flow easily, it makes sense. But when you're with, somebody and you're like butting heads, you're just, you're fighting against yourself.
Yeah. So I guess it's very clear how you guys connected on having a shared culture, shared values, shared faith, and that was that was a big reason why you connected just on a personal level.
Hmm.
As far as the different, because it seems like you were able to do pretty much everything by yourself, and that he also had his business and his own real estate investments that he was able to do by himself. Can you talk a little bit about the different skill sets that you guys each bring to the table and how you organize your partnership as far as like who's responsible for what? Like I'm in a partnership, I'm in a few different partnerships right now. The
Hmm.
one that is most present for me is my partner, this guy John Wood, that he is a GC and has been working on $4 million, $5 million houses for the last 15 years. And he's got really awesome subs and just like you know if he needs to put in a kitchen in a week, like he'll find the person that will do it, and it will do a good job. And I don't have the same contacts, right?
Hmm.
But I have a much more appetite for underwriting and analyzing deals and networking with agents and being on the phone and making calls and getting deal flow. And so we there's many ways that we have shared culture, shared values, um but our skill sets are different. They're
Hmm.
complementary, and I think that's one of the things that is leading both of us to invest more in this partnership and for us to to start having the success that we're having. So yeah, I'd love to hear about what that looks like for you and your partner.
Yeah, for sure. No, I really respect you guys' partnership, and I like it a lot. I was talking to somebody from your meetup today, who I connected with at your meetup at your project, and I was telling her like that could be a good idea for her to do a partnership like what you have. Now with ours, yeah, we both became financially free through real estate. He has his own real estate. He has his own construction company. I've got my own stuff going on. Now we started a couple of businesses together. But I think the thing is, like, I'm more of the, I guess you can call, people person, because I like the short-term rentals. I'm, again, going back to like what you were asking, in the sales part of things that I did was being able to really talk to people and I guess find out, like, what their needs and wants are, right? And it's kind of like the same thing, like when you're going to either buy a property, sell a property, or work with somebody. It's like, okay, so how do they fit into this puzzle? And I think that's what I'm really good at doing, is like putting all the pieces together. Jake's really good at doing like the back end of stuff. Like, I used to do a lot of paperwork when I was in the car business doing finance, and I mean, I don't mind it, but he's really good with like all the spreadsheets and all the paperwork, contracts, and yada yada yada, all like those kinds of things. Also, I mean, he's good at finding contractors as well, because he had a construction company, and so he would find people to sub out. So and where we're at in Jacksonville, he's there right now, and so we're doing a lot of deals there. So he's like boots on the ground, I guess you would say. Also, but yeah, I mean, we do a lot of like similar things in a sense, but just me being able to like be the one to kind of put all the pieces together, him to be able to kind of deal with all the paperwork back end stuff, because I'll be raising money, and then I'll just be like, here, you like, he'll or find the property, find the property. He's good at deal analyzing, and I'm as well. But it's just nice when you can kind of like, hey, I'll do this side, you do that side. Or like, he's on vacation right now, and like I'm dealing with a lot of the finance stuff and everything like that. And then but when I'm busy, he'll pick stuff up, so we can kind of be able to do our own things and still know that it's not gonna go awry.
Yeah, that's awesome. Can you talk about the first few deals you guys did together?
Yeah, so the first few deals we did was Ohio. So we bought an 8 unit apartment almost right around the same time as we got this duplex. So they're both like two kind of very different deals. He found the 8 unit on LoopNet, which was an awesome deal, and it was in Sandusky, like northern Ohio, near the lake. And so So we got that one, and we bought that one like that was our first like commercial loan that we had done in regards to like over 4 units. So that was cool. That was an interesting experience, and we fixed that one up and raised the rents and all that stuff. And then the duplex that we got was actually off of a wholesaler. So that was our first time dealing with a wholesaler. So, you know, definitely learned a lot of like a lot of different things at the same time, which is really cool because you know, even in a partnership, it's just good to like bounce ideas off of somebody
Totally.
sometimes too. You know what I mean? But yeah, that duplex, it was great. And this is how I found our property manager from Ohio, who is awesome. Her name is Faith Jadlot. So I am, you know, calling, putting her out there. You know, if you
Give
need
her a
anybody,
plug.
yeah, yeah. If you need anybody in Ohio, I mean, she's killer. I mean, we bought this.
What cities does she work in?
So she's near Mount Vernon, which is kind of near Columbus.
Okay,
So it's
cool.
a little bit north of Columbus, but yeah, she is really awesome. She's got a great team. She actually even drove down to Atlanta to help me out with a couple of my flips down there.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. So she is awesome. We did that duplex. It was basically, we got it for $40,000. The place was gross. It was disgusting. Like there was literally like so much trash in the basement that it like filled up to the top of the stairs. She didn't even know if there was like
Oh.
going to be a dead body in there. Like
Oh.
the guy that sold the place left his wife in there. She was bedridden. He left her in the
Underneath the
house.
trash?
No, he left her. Well, and around the trash, there was like a whole
Oh
bunch of
God.
trash. Like,
Oh
dude, it was
God.
bad. Like, the dad was so thankful. I mean, this is another thing that I really love about like doing some of these things is like the dad was just so thankful that somebody bought the property so that way
Yeah.
his daughter can get out of that situation. But
Oh
yeah,
man.
so those were the first two, and then we started our real estate fund because you know, we figured, hey, we can only grow so much with our own money, and we're like kind of like spending all our money on our own real estate, and so that's when we started the fund, and we started raising money for short-term rentals in Florida because we knew that, you know, the Florida market was a good market to be in. So we got a couple short-term rentals there, and then now we're doing flips there. Now he moved there. He's got his own couple personal properties there, and now we're doing the pad splits there as well. So I think the Florida Georgia market, two of my favorite. I mean, I know we're gonna get
Yeah,
on some
yeah,
more of
yeah.
that, but
You know, I mean, so I have had so many people on the podcast that I invest in multifamily or long-term holds, and but I don't really talk to so many folks that are in short-term rental, the short-term rental space. I'd love to hear you speak a little bit about, and I know you have short-term rentals in Big Bear, and obviously in Florida. I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about, you know, the ups and downs of being in the hospitality industry, things you've learned, and you know, how's that flowing for you now also?
Yeah, it's a good question because you know, short-term rentals are not like what everybody like hypes it up to be. It's so funny. Like you see all these people on Instagrams, like, oh my gosh, I'm making all this money in short-term rental, but there's like a lot of overhead too.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of different people that you deal with. So I think every market's a little bit different, honestly. These ones I have here in California, up in the mountains in Big Bear, to me are very easy. They're not very big properties. We got a really good deal on them, and so they're kind of easy to manage. But you still deal with people who are either lazy or not very smart, or just, you know, like
You're talking about the people that
the
employ
the
you
guests.
employ.
No, the guests. I'm talking about
Oh,
the
the
guests.
guests.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. No, like
My
what
guests are lazy.
yeah. Well, they're lazy because they ask you dumb questions, right? Or they're just dumb. I don't know. Like, I mean,
Like,
not to
what?
not to
Give
not
give us a worst question you've been asked. Give me our
not to
top
be
three.
not to be mean, but I mean, but those are the things that you deal with in hospitality. So you kind of have to dumb things down, like literally dumb them down. And I even was talking to somebody about this the other day with the key locks, because he had posted something on Instagram, and how like he had been having issues with like multiple people. I said, well, you have to get like dummy proof things, like you
Yeah.
literally, like, because it's just the less the more information you give, the less questions you're going to get, right? So, you know,
Uh-huh.
because you don't want to be bugged, they don't want to be bugged, and it's the same thing. This actually goes back again to the car business, right? So it's when people get a new car, and there's these surveys after you get a car. Most of the time when people would report an issue, it wasn't because there was something wrong with the car, it's because they didn't know how to use it.
Yeah.
So it actually it's the same kind of thing. The more dummy proof you make it, the easier it's going to be. So I got rid of, like, there's usually on your front door you have a deadbolt, and then you have another doorknob that you have a key lock on, right? So I ended up just getting rid of it. So this is like a little hack for anybody who's doing a short-term rental. If you're setting one up on the front door, don't put a lock, put like one of those like closet door ones. So put a smart key, put a smart lock on it, and then put like a closet door like handle, so that way they can't lock themselves out, because I've had people lock themselves out. I know it sounds silly, but another one that I think was great was, so there's this one guy, and it's not like somebody torched the place. They didn't torch the place on this one, but I've had that happen. But he turned the shower on, and he messaged me saying, "Oh, I've had the water on for 30 minutes. It's not getting warm." And I said, "Well, did you turn the other knob? Did you turn on the other knob?" He's like, "Oh, there's only one knob." I said, "Okay, did you turn it the other way then?" And he's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, it got warm." I was like, "Yeah," because the hot water heater is really hot on that one. So now I just kind of, I put that in my notes. Like every time something comes up with somebody, like I had these people, they put
I mean, I kind of like when I'm in an Airbnb, and for folks that have, like, lately I've been staying in a lot of Airbnbs as I'm traveling for real estate conferences and this kind of thing or that kind of thing. And some Airbnbs, it's like everywhere I look, there's like a little note
Oh, really?
attached
Yeah.
to like everything. This coffee maker goes in here. The creamers are down here, and there'll be arrows, and it'll be like, oh my god, there must be a total of like 100 little notes that have been laminated. And like aesthetically, it's not the coolest thing ever to be walking around and just be constantly seeing words all over the place, but it's actually it's kind of comforting as a guest to be like, okay, it's like I don't need to feel I don't need to feel dumb by asking all the questions that I have.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I've heard a lot of people don't like those notes, because
Uh-huh.
I talked to, like, well, my mom, for one, we talk about these funny stories a lot of times, because again, she was in sales, and it's just funny to talk about these stories sometimes. And
Yeah.
they've stayed up at the cabin that I have, and she's like, "Why don't you put like notes?" And I'm like, a lot of times, like, from what I've heard, people don't like them. They don't like the little stickers everywhere, because
Uh-huh.
I don't know, maybe that makes sense, but
It's
I don't
less
know.
Instagram worthy.
Yeah, I think so too. Like my
Yeah.
places are like really nice and very well decorated. So I don't do that. I put it in, like, in like the check-in instructions and stuff
That's
like
nice.
that,
Yeah.
and then you could make a pamphlet, we have a pamphlet in one of them, to where you can like read all the instructions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
do want to take a step back because you said somebody
sure.
torched one of your places.
Oh yeah. So it was like our second guest at this place in Gainesville, Florida, which is right near the University of Florida. And I had a bad feeling, to be honest with you. I should have known. And I mean, that goes back
Oh,
to
you
like
had a
just,
bad feeling about an Airbnb guest?
yeah,
Wow, I wouldn't even think, because there's so many people coming in and out. Like, I wouldn't even think I'd have the bandwidth to be able to be like, I don't know about this person. Like, yeah.
Well, why is because I don't know, like there's a couple of red flags, because I had a booking, a similar booking on those dates. It was, and we just launched it. I've had, again, had this one up here. And so it was like a similar booking. It was kind of like in the way that they spoke was very odd. I don't know. It's just one of those things, like, again, I'm telling you, like, I was in the car business for almost 14 years, or about 14
You
years,
can read people
like pretty good at reading
pretty,
people.
yeah.
And
That's
so, like,
you've honed the skill of reading people. Yeah, makes sense.
so
Yeah.
that does help when you deal with a lot of different people. And so I just kind of had a feeling, and I was like, but again, this is what I'll tell people too, is like, I haven't brought up yet, but like, don't get greedy. And I'm not saying that I was greedy, but it was like, oh, cool, we got a booking for 14 days, and it gave me the option to accept it or not. And I was just like, Well, we just launched it. We're kind of like, we raised money, so we have to.
This is just from his profile picture that you got you got kind of spooked,
So
or
what it
from
was,
what?
I had a booking that was similar to it that seemed
Okay.
kind of fishy that I didn't accept, and then it was like another booking, same kind of dates, similar kind of like language. You know what I mean? I just look at the person, I look at like where like whatever, and so yeah, it was just kind of the language, like it just seemed very very fishy. And I was
Hmm.
like, oh, but then I'm like, all right, well, whatever. I mean, it was like a really good booking. It was like, I don't know, 3 grand or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
but man, I'll tell you what, they destroyed. And I was so bummed because we went out there personally and staged this place. We stayed at it for a month and we made it nice, man. Like this place
Yeah.
is really nice, good furniture, beautiful. They broke one of the beds, they broke the oven door off.
Oh my God.
Um, they broke off like some screens on the windows. There was
Whoa.
like a foosball table, game table, or whatever, like pieces were missing.
Oh my
They
God.
stole some of the decorations, and I mean
Whoa.
it was
Did,
like
did Airbnb help you out at all for that?
we got reimbursed almost like what we were supposed to. I mean, but it was
It's a
it
lot of
was
work though.
it was a lot of work, man.
Yeah.
Dude, it was unbelievable. I mean, they even left a table in the backyard that wasn't even a table of ours. A table and
Oh
chairs in the
my.
backyard. I mean,
Yeah.
it was like how random. Like,
Yeah.
so anyways, like that was a real bummer. Like it really put a toll on me because we put so much pride into making that nice for people, and then someone just goes and just destroys it. And then
Yeah.
now it just kind of like it really sucks for like the next person because if it's not up to par of what you wanted it to be.
Yeah. Totally.
So
Yeah.
but it's
Well,
all the things you deal with.
yeah,
you know
seems like you got off pretty good on that one, and you have a good story.
yeah, exactly. it's been
Uh,
it's been fun.
totally. So one of the things that you mentioned is you have a pad split going on in Florida. So I also I invested in a deal with pads. The vision was to do a pad split, and I really really like the model. I don't and I'm in LA and I'm constantly looking like, okay, how can we make this $1 million property not lose money, because we really believe in the market and we love the area and we see so much potential for appreciation, rent appreciation for folks that are able to hold. But then it's always a question of, how do I not lose money, for at least the first 2 years, or at least break even, and
Mhm.
so Pad Split, for folks that are not familiar with it, it's a company that helps facilitate rent by the room, and also help. They have a way of redesigning a house from a 5 bedroom, from like a 3 bedroom to a 5 bedroom, or maybe even an 8 bedroom. And so, like the property that I invested in outside of Orlando, we converted a 4 or 5 bedroom into an 8 bedroom, and it's an
Mhm.
8 bedroom right now. And we were thinking of doing the pad split. Pad split didn't end up. We didn't end up getting it leased up as fast as we wanted to, so we actually transitioned to corporate bookings, like midterm rentals, and that's actually been really good. We have the next 6 months. We have like a corporate booking that's lasted 6 months, and it's way above market rate rent. So everything's getting paid, and we're all stoked about that right now. But I see Pad Split as this really really great business model. So yeah, I'd love to hear you talk about your experience with it, and your own thoughts about that model.
Yeah, so I mean, to be honest, we're really new at it right now. So we don't have one running yet, but we're under contract on four.
Wow.
So yeah, we're under contract on four. They're all a little bit different in a way. I mean, one we're buying cash, we're going to be, fixing it and then turning it into a pad split, and
Are
then
these all with your fund? Because I know you said you have a fund that is out of Jacksonville and maybe some other parts of Florida, or are these
so
individual separate deals that are you and your partner are leading the charge?
yeah, these are not in the fund at the moment. The
Okay.
fund, we might be transitioning, possibly putting like some of these into the fund. But these are all four separate deals with different people. So one of them is personally like mine and my business partners that we're going to be keeping ourselves. that is it's actually really cool. Like it's a 2,800 square foot house that
Wow.
is a 4 bedroom, 2.5 bathroom that we're going to turn into a 10 bedroom, three
I was
bathroom.
gonna say 2,800. Oh my god, you could have like 10 bedrooms in there,
Dude. Yeah. So that's that one. Then we have another one with actually someone in our mastermind group and RPM, and she's going to be investing in one that's actually already built as a 10 bedroom pad
Wow.
split. So that's cool because that's actually like it's really nice because it's already done, it's already built, and there's already a waiting list for it, and
Wow.
she's being able to put in less money than some of our other investors in these because we don't have to build it out. So we don't have to build the rooms, right? So that's cool. And then there's another one that we're actually buying from an agent who owns this property, who's actually building it out for us. And
Wow.
so we built that into the cost. So we paid him a little bit more for the price of the house because it'll appraise.
It's gonna be new.
What's that?
It's gonna be a new build.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's basically, and it's right near the college, like one of the colleges in Jacksonville. So these are all in Jacksonville, but they're all different kinds of deals, right? Like so, it's just really neat to kind of see now, like how you can do all these different types of deals and have a similar outcome, and then get other people's money invested in it, so they're going to make really good money. Because let's say, okay, you have a 10 bedroom and you're renting out each room for $800 a month. Well, now you have 8 grand. Your payment's going to be $2,000 a month because we're getting the house for 250,000, right? And then you're going to have some overhead. So let's just say, okay, you're going to pay pad split, because pad split, what they do is they vet the people. So they have a waiting list. They vet the people. They deal with the tenants. The only thing they don't deal with is like maintenance and things like that, which is fine. But they charge 13%. So you're gonna have to pay that. You're gonna have to, stage the room if it's not already staged, right? So it's about probably $1,000 a room ish, maybe 1,500, because you want to make it nice. And then from there you have to pay the utilities. So even if you're, let's say making $7,000-8,000 a month and your overhead's $3,000-4,000, there's still quite a bit of money to be able to split up there, right? So you can pay an investor. Let's say you're paying them $1,000 a month for putting in their $100,000, and then the rest is for you or your partner to split.
Yeah,
So, cool.
it's not something we really talked about a lot in this interview, but just from knowing you on a personal level and some of the deals that I know you've done and that I know you've done with investors, something maybe to highlight as we reach some of the last couple questions we're gonna do is, I know you've gone full cycle with investors on quite a few times, and your investors have had a really good return on their capital, and maybe even some of the time maybe you gave away a little bit more of the deal than you had to. And I see all of that kind of stuff as maybe hard in the short term but excellent in the long term, because now you're in a position where you at the start of this conversation, you told me you bought one deal in 2 years, and now you're talking about you have 4 different properties under contract at the same time. And it's not, and like one of them you're paying and you're buying in cash, and the other ones are like, these are all going to be properties that like have super high potential for appreciation, and you're able to fund them, it sounds like, really easily. So yeah, maybe speaking a little bit about what it's been like to go from just using your own money to building up this excellent track record that I know you have, to be able to have a fund, to be able to fund these kind of deals, to be in deals in Georgia that I know you did with private money, with private investors.
Yeah, no, good question again. So I think what's really helped me the most, and people have asked me this a lot, it's like, why do you think like you're able to raise money like this? And honestly, it's just like you said, it's like giving up more than you have to sometimes at the beginning, but also because I've done it for myself. So people have seen that I've done it myself. And it's the same thing, like my friend's dad who invested with me was probably I guess my first private money lender, because he had seen what I was doing. He ended up moving out to Georgia. He's like, getting all excited because he went. And so my friend's like, hey, why don't you invest with Joe then? And so he started investing with me, and then he ended up investing in our fund. Now he's like, okay, I don't even want to like do anything anymore. So I'll just I'll invest on this one with you as like, just like one of your private money lenders, because at this point, like years down the road, he knows that now I have other private money lenders that are doing, like, my next door neighbors. Literally, I walked over there with my laptop, showed him the deals that I've done. They've actually been to my Airbnb up in Big Bear
Wow.
because they helped me when I was on vacation with my house with something. So I let them go stay up there. And then, so they kind of know what I'm in. So I go over there and I just talk to them and I say, hey, I'm about to pay 10% to a hard money lender. Would you guys want to make 10% on your money? And
Yeah.
so they looked through them, and this is like one of the deals I was doing. They're like, oh, we like that one. Maybe we can invest on that one. And I said,
That's cool.
well, I need about like 185,000 or so. And they're like, oh, I don't know. And so I might be able to do it with 150. And they're like, oh, okay, we'll think about it. 10 minutes later, come knock on my door. All right, we're good. They brought me a
Wow.
check the next day.
Wow. Yeah.
But I think it's because
but that's not like, I think when somebody hears this, if they think it was just the deal that got you that lender, it's actually the 10, 12, 13 years also. It's like
yeah.
the deal plus the relationship plus the 13 years of track record plus your consistency that led you to that position where you could raise the money so easily.
Right. That is true. I mean, yeah, because people can kind of like, they can see it, right? Okay,
Yeah.
I literally went through like Zillow or whatever, and like some of the pictures I had and all these things, and kind of showed all the different properties and different kinds of things that I've done. And so that really creates the trust in it, and knowing like, hey, he knows what he's doing, right? And so yes, I did on one of the properties in Atlanta that we did a flip on. I created a partnership with some people, but it was because I was looking at the long term. So I gave them
Totally.
half of the profits because I knew that they were going to do more, projects with me. And now we're
Cool.
in, like, I don't know, 2-3 more projects, and they have other people
Awesome.
that are literally like wanting to invest. And now it's like, money's like, hey, calm down.
That's so cool.
Let me find some deals. Like, no, I mean, not
Yeah.
to make it sound so like great, but I mean, it is nice, but you still have to be due diligent and not just buy any kind of deal. I think that's one
Yeah.
thing that's really important too, for people to know, is like, it doesn't just happen overnight. Like, I mean, I do my due diligence, and I have people either finding me these deals, or I find them and I make sure that they make sense.
Yeah, and I see this all go all the way to the highest level, like I did a mentorship with Andrew Cushman, and he, at this point, he's owns more than 3,000 units, and raising money for him is not a challenge, and he'll be raising money for like $50 million deals, $38 million deals, $80 million deals, and like, for me, at the level that I'm at, I'm like, that's like telling me that people build something and it goes out into space and it can land on the moon. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I understand that that's possible, but like, how you go from like a piece of metal and fuel to something that is taking a person onto the moon, is, I don't really understand it,
Yeah.
but really, it's exactly what you're saying. He has built up his track record, like the first 10 years of his career or 8 years of his career, he's doing fix and flips mostly,
Mhm.
and building up his credentials, his credibility, and then slowly doing bigger deals, and he even shared with me like the first deal that he had to raise like 800 grand or something for one deal. Like, it was like a multifamily deal, that it was really, even with all of his credentials and his background, it was very hard for him to raise that money. And like, now it's nothing, like
Mhm.
nothing for him to raise like $20 million. But it's because but he also hasn't bought anything in the last 6 months. And it's not because he's not underwriting anything, but it's because the thing that he values the most is maintaining his credibility with the folks that believe in him and that trust him with, money is the energy of life. That's what what you work and you get paid money. That's your life is turning your energy of your life into this, so you can exchange and be in relationship with other people. So it's like such a valuable thing. It's so important to take it seriously.
Yep. No, I totally agree, 100%. I mean, but don't work so much, and make sure that you enjoy life and enjoy the people that are in your life too, because I worked a lot in the car business and I missed out on a lot of different things. And now I don't know, I guess I'm fortunate that I did not blow my money. Like I guess something I forgot to bring up was, being in the business I was in and people making a lot of money is not spending on stupid shit. Excuse my language.
Yeah.
But it's like being cognizant and thinking about, the future, but also, at the same time enjoying life and enjoying like the people you're around, your family and stuff like that, because time is something that you can't get back.
100%. Yeah, I think that's a good reminder. And that's like, I just transitioned out of teaching, where I had this very predictable money that's always coming in, and this is when I work, this is when I don't work, this is my salary, this is the salary schedule,
Yeah.
and also being very frugal and setting aside such and such amount for a rainy day. But now I have like, okay, well, I don't have anything coming in for the next 5 months while we're working on these flips, and the flips actually look great, and that guy is gonna probably be in a really good mood and in a great position. But like, okay, but how do I also enjoy my life right now? Well, it's so much of my energy is planting seeds, planting trees. And like, okay, I gotta wait for this tree to grow fruit before I cut it down, and then like, what, I'm not gonna have anything to eat if I don't find a way. But then also, like, my daughter is at a time where she's not gonna be the age anymore for like all the people around my life, that like my wife loves to spend time with me and my daughter wants to spend time with me and I'm healthy. And it's like, okay, like, let's not forget that. Like, sacrifice my health or my life energy for something that ultimately does not equal in value to that. But yeah, man, I think we're all on this same flow, and that's why I appreciate you as a not only as a colleague, but a friend, and somebody that we've done deals together. But I do want to do some lightning round questions for you as we near the end. So, in line with this, what's the purpose of life kind of thing. Since you are in this place of financial independence, but you still are doing deals, what is your why now?
Yeah. So my why now is, I just got married in May, and I don't
Congratulations.
thank you, thank you. I don't have any kids yet, but my goal is, my wife is a nurse, and so I want to be able to displace her income. She makes good money. She'll probably still be a nurse like after we have kids, but in the interim, like we are thinking, homeschooling them. We don't want them like, in daycare or anything like that. And so, for me, it's like in the next couple of years, I want to try and be able to build up what she's making at least, if not more. So that way we have the time together to spend when we go to have kids, or just to spend together. And I like to travel as well, so for me, I love traveling across the world. And so that's kind of like my why, I guess. I mean, I like the flips because they're fun and it's good cash infusion, but also having like the long-term rentals and stuff like that is making the cash flow. So kind of like setting things up to where you have multiple different streams of income, of course, like they say, right? 7 sources of income to become a millionaire. And it's like, I mean, I'm already there, but you know, that's what you need to do if you really want to be serious about it and not just think in one direction.
Cool. What is your favorite way to give back to your community?
So what my wife and I, what we decided was, on these flip deals that I do, we're going to be giving, we already are, but we're giving 10% of our profits to our church. So that's the first thing that gets paid out once I get paid, is we give
Cool.
10% back to our church. Our goal is to, again, you know, not only travel, but to do some missions trips. So, I mean, I would love to be able to, I mean, the more I make, the more my church is going to get, but the more we're going to have to be able to, you know, donate, give back. And, you know, when I was a kid, in high school, I built some homes for Habitat for Humanity, and that was really fun. So I learned a lot there, but it also was really nice because I was in my backyard. I literally, it was like the town next to me. So it was fun.
Cool. Yeah, I know a lot of people that have done work for Habitat for Humanity, and that they've had a great experience with that too.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone just getting started on their investing or entrepreneurial journey?
Okay. So like in investing or just like getting into entrepreneurship
You
or,
choose.
okay. So I would say getting organized is probably one of the biggest things, honestly, is because for me, when I when I first stopped like working, like I was like so used to like having to go to this place and be there and do all this stuff. And then you stop and you're like, I can do whatever I want. Like, so I honestly, like, man, I tell you what, like it was a little tough at the beginning. And I think that's kind of like, you know, why I went through some stuff, why I ended up meeting the wrong person, because I was, you know, I wasn't focused. So I would say, you know, getting focused, getting organized, and really having a direction. Like when it comes to entrepreneurship, it's just different because, you know, you don't have that structure. And so yeah, I think that would probably be one of the biggest things. I mean, I'm sure we can talk about like multiple different stuff, but
Dude, I appreciate that, man, because
yeah.
that is the journey I'm on right now.
Yes.
I'm in that journey where, like, literally, I spent 14 years, where even more, because before grad school, it's 16 years in the classroom, okay,
Yeah.
where you literally are told, okay, go to this box,
Uh-huh.
okay, and then teach this list of things. Here's a book, chapter one, start it, open it, and with the teacher's notes, read from the teacher's notes. You know, like that's kind of the level of like, yes, okay, robot. Brr,
Yeah.
brr, brr,
Raise your
brr,
hand to go to the
brr.
bathroom, right? You know?
Oh my God. Yeah. That's the environment that like, my mind is like, someone else will tell me what to do. No
Right.
problem. You know, and it's like now no one tells me anything, you know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I mean, like, but like that's the you know, that's also the importance of being in a community of other people that are killing the game, you know,
Mhm.
like you, where I'm like, oh, okay, these are the ways to structure your day, or structure a deal, or structure a partnership, or structure your business, you know. And yeah, getting organized, like
Yeah.
and one of the things that I've been working on is using this CRM, and it's not even like a real estate investing CRM. It's really a project management CRM. So there are some limitations to it. I'm using this CRM called ClickUp,
Mm.
but it's helping me so much, man,
Yeah.
to do like follow-ups and to remember who I'm talking to about deals. Like, I will have so many deals that I follow up that I'm just like, wait, oh, I'm supposed to follow up today. You know, like, I don't need to remember it. You know, I just put
Yeah.
it in the
Yeah.
CRM, and then
Yeah.
future me will do it. You know, so
Yeah. Yeah,
but
that's why like I set the reminders in my calendar and stuff like this. It's like, oh yeah, okay, I got to take my truck and I go get service today. All right, cool. I forgot.
yeah,
You know, it's like,
yeah,
or like this, you know, okay, podcast.
totally,
All right, we're still on. All right, let's go, you
yeah,
know, like things like
100%.
that. But
Cool.
my mom always said, you know, plan your work, work your plan.
Hmm.
Pretty
That
easy.
you know what? I think those are good words to to finish off.
She's pretty smart.
Plan your work your plan. I'm gonna put
Yeah.
that. I'm gonna tattoo that on my forehead.
Yeah, right. Put it on your screen.
Totally. All right, cool. Where can people learn more about you and your offerings?
So JSJR consult.com. I can send you that. You can hit me up on the Landshark Financial Freedom podcast. We have it on Instagram. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that stuff, as well as I'm SoCal Traveler on Instagram and YouTube. So yeah, hit me up, message me, let me know. I'd be happy to connect with anybody.
Cool. Yeah. And my Instagram is at Educated Invest. And I have the same website, educatedinvest.com. And this is the Educated Investor. So thank you so much, Joe. A friend, colleague, someone I look up to, someone that I feel is working with integrity, in line with their values, does what they say they're gonna do, which is a lot more than other people. And also an awesome dude. So thank you so much. Appreciate you, bro. And there you go.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Kept myself held down so long, I lost the key. Say who stops you from your dreams? I know that it's just me. Oh, I can't live this way and feel this way, but my friend, we've all got bills to pay. Oh, I can't live this way, feel this way, but